Hello, Thrive Tribe. Welcome back to Warrior Voices. Today, we're going to be talking to a trauma survivor ambassador. She is actually out of Ohio, so she's our first out of state ambassador, and we're super excited to have her. I actually found her on TikTok. She promotes awareness when it comes to domestic violence. She's a huge advocate. Being a survivor herself, her mission is to get out to the world and to other survivors or even victims that are currently going through domestic violence that there's hope and that there's life after trauma. So I'm super excited to talk with her today, get to know her more, and share her story with you guys and to spread that message that there absolutely is life after trauma. So, Amber, thank you so much for being with me today and coming on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, so we it was kind of fun the way we connected. You know, it was domestic violence awareness in October. And so of course my algorithm was a lot of domestic violence things on my For You page, if you will. And I come across yours and I give, I believe I messaged you or I commented on something you had said just because what you say is so real and so true and just so factual and just relatable. And so I'm like, "Okay, is this creepy? Like that I'm gonna message her and be like, hey,
No,
right?
not at all.
Uh, I just that's what I'm looking for. And lo and behold, you do in fact have a story about domestic violence, and thankfully a story where you were able to get out of your situation where there's just unfortunately so many that don't never get to make it out, but also so many that are currently in a situation feeling like there is no way out. So,
Right.
uh, without further ado, let's jump into to your story. Tell me a little bit about your background, about maybe your childhood or the start of this relationship that we're going to be jumping into. Give me some background.
So I'm an only girl out of four boys raised by my dad. My mom had issues with partners who were abusive. Like one of my first memories was of her asking me to lie to my dad because she had a black eye. I didn't know how she got it, but she told me that if my dad asked that, my brother threw a football in her face. Um,
Mhm.
So I was always one of those people who said I would never be that dumb to end up in that type of relationship. And then I ended up in that type of relationship. I think my mom blamed herself for a little bit because of what I saw her go through. I know my brother definitely blamed my mom. Um, but at the end of the day, my actions are my own, my choices are my own, so it wasn't her fault. It was his. I'm gonna blame him because if he had shown his true colors at the beginning, that relationship would have never happened, or at least wouldn't have lasted as long as it had. So
So, how old were you when you had that first memory of your mom asking you to lie about her black eye?
I was like 5 because my
Okay.
brother was 3.
Okay. And so your parents were divorced, and that wasn't probably the last time that you were subjected to, like, you had that secondhand trauma from your mom where you've seen her go through these domestic violence situations. And you can't blame her. She was a victim, right? And she
Right.
was probably doing the best that she could do with what she had. And I, being a single mom, with 3 kids, also went through domestic violence and they witnessed it. And I know at the time I thought, I hid it well. Usually the big fights didn't happen when they were around. And it wasn't until they got older, specifically my daughter would bring stuff up. And I'm like, wow, like I had no idea that
Yeah.
she knew about it. And so you and your mom have a relationship now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we
good.
did.
So when you said she blamed herself, do you mean she blamed herself for what? For you getting into a domestic violence
Yes,
relationship?
like I said, my brother kind of accused her, said something like she wouldn't be in the situation that she's in if it wasn't for you or something along those lines. And she was like, he's not wrong. And I was like, oh, he's totally wrong. Totally wrong. But yeah, I think she kind of felt like it was her fault. And then she lived out of state for a while, so I was literally by myself. Like, my brother went to prison, she was out of state, my dad lives, like, 40 minutes away, like, I didn't have a support system, and that's typically what your abuser wants anyway. They don't want you to have a support system, so I was all alone dealing with
Wow.
what I was dealing with, and I
Okay,
think
so
that
from
added to the mom guilt.
yeah. Well, and how do you feel? I know you just said that you don't blame her for it. How do you feel toward it overall about her being gone or, subjecting you to this?
She had a life to live. Uh, uh, she needed to spread her wings and see if it was gonna work for her, and actually, at the time when she moved, she was still in a domestic violence situation, so it wasn't easy for her either, because she was away from her family and her support system, going through it as well on her own, so
Yeah. So I think that's interesting though. I think that I'm glad you brought this up because I don't think we can blame your mom at all. Because we as adults have to be, like you said, responsible for our own choices. But if we're grow up around it, it can become our normal. And that's how we learn to identify what love looks like is all because that's all we've seen kind of
yeah.
thing. There are things like that. But I know you have children. So let's talk about like breaking the cycle because it would be up to you, right, to break that cycle, not to blame it on your mom, but to say, okay, going forward, that's not going to happen to me. And I heard you say, you even said that at one point. Like you said, I'm never going to be that dumb to like be subjected to something like that. But yet here we are because you were in a domestic violence situation. So how do you feel someone that maybe in your situation that did grow up with it in their home, how do they break that cycle to unlearn what they've known so that they don't end up in that kind of situation?
It's definitely hard, um, 'cause, I mean, yeah, if you've seen it, if you've grown up with it, that's all you know. But I feel like there's two kinds of people in the world. There's the people who make excuses and the people who are accountable and want better. I'm surrounded by the excuses, people who it's never their fault and they're never the reason, and everything and everybody in the world is against them and they don't want to fix things and they don't want to change. I mean, if that's what you want to do, fine, but nothing is ever going to get better if nothing is ever your fault. You have to take accountability. You have to look at your surroundings and just readjust and decide that you want better and then make it better. It's basic. My two kids are my everything. And I am trying to break cycles. I left when they were fairly young. Yes, they saw it. Yes, they still have memories, unfortunately, because I did try to hide them from that. Like you said, every parent does. Nobody wants to see their kid go through that, or nobody wants their kids to see them go through that. But yeah, every day I just decide to be the best mom I can be and to give them the best life that I can. And that starts with me. So
Yeah. Girl, you're talking to the accountability queen. So, like, if my whole life, if any of my clients are listening or even friends, that's where it all starts is accountability. And, even in this line of apparel, I have a shirt, a design actually that says accountability is your superpower. It says own your shit because that's my famous saying is own your shit because it's all about accountability. And it's not necessarily meaning that you're at fault or at wrong, but it's taking accountability for where your life is at, or where it's going to go. So it's saying, well, I take accountability if my life is miserable. Where was my part in that so I can change it? Right. And not just
right.
blame everybody else for it. Yes, accountability to me is where anything and everything starts. That is like the seed to growth is accountability. So now you were kind of exposed to domestic violence at a young age. You grew up mostly with your father and four brothers.
Yes.
And eventually, at some point, family kind of moved away. Your support group wasn't very close, to you. And is that when you met your husband?
I actually met my husband when I was still in high school. He was 3 years older than me, but he was related to or friends with friends that I had. So I met him when I was in high school, but he was married and like never even, crossed my mind. And then I graduated in '06. I saw him again in '07. Here, and I don't know about in Michigan, but here we have like plasma donation centers. My aunt was going donating one day. She didn't want to go alone. I went with her. He was there. I happened to say hi. We were talking to a friend that we had in common that we saw. I ended up getting his number and started talking to him then, and it just moved along.
Okay. So, what was the relationship like? So, you kind of reconnected after high school. How did the relationship start?
So he was actually going through a divorce from his first wife. And so she had a son, like when I first met them, she had a son from somebody else that he was raising, and then they had a son together. And I was actually like around when she was pregnant with that son because, like I said, we had known each other, had friends and family in common. Um, but he was going through a divorce. He was working as a landscaper. I was in college. We lived close to each other, just started spending time with each other all the time, and eventually moved in with each other, and then decided we wanted to have a family with each other. And then when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, we decided that we would get married. So, I mean, it kind of progressed, not fast, but fast enough. Like after 9 months, I was pregnant. And then when she was 6 months old, we got married.
So, well, let me stop you right there. So, what was the relationship? Was it loving? Was it fun? Like, explain the environment of that relationship.
At first, it was loving, it was fun. I was in college. I worked 2 jobs. He had a job and did, his own thing. We had grown up in the similar neighborhoods or whatever, so we had friends in common. Like his uncle's girlfriend was one of my friends from school. So like we spent as much time together as possible, and I mean we got along and it was great. And I don't know, I had always wanted a family, like even when I was younger, like my not to say that I just, had a family with anybody, but like I always wanted to be a mom. And then it seemed like, I don't know, he seemed like the person. And I was like, we talked about everything first. It wasn't like our daughter was unplanned or anything. I was like, hey, what about having kids? I know you
Right.
have kids, but have you thought about having other kids? And he was like, yeah. And yeah, no, it was the first half of our relationship was fantastic. It wasn't until after we were married that stuff started to go sideways. I mean, there were a few red flags beforehand, like the possessiveness. One of my jobs, I worked event security with uh, my ex-boyfriend and his family, but we were just friends. He was doing his thing, I was doing my thing. It wasn't anything like that. But he was my boyfriend at the time, but if he could come to events, he was there. And I thought it was to spend time with me, but it was really just to watch me and make sure I
Right.
wasn't doing anything. So, yeah, there were signs. I ignored them.
Well, and I think that that's common that a lot of us do because I think naturally that we look for the good in people. What other signs did you see, like in hindsight now, going, oh, I knew it, but I saw the red sign, but I ignored it. Like, what other ones can you think of from that
That was the
time?
biggest one. The always wanting to be where I was. Like I said, at first I thought it was just wanting to spend time with me, which I thought was great, but it was really just checking up on me and making sure I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to. Um, and then my brother also told me, like, hey, he has a temper. You should probably watch out for him. And then when we were in the process of getting married, and his mom was taking me to go get my marriage license. She said, "Are you sure you want to marry him?" And since
No.
that was his mom, I should have probably took that as the biggest warning sign of all. But
Yeah. Wow. And she was being serious, huh?
yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious, this did you ever find out why he was getting a divorce from wife number one?
He was abusive to her as well.
And you obviously didn't know that when you started dating, right?
I did not know.
So then what kind of story did he give you about why he was getting the divorce?
Um, she cheated on him and she just didn't want to be with him anymore. And like he had their son at first. I don't know if he was having issues at home or there was a lot of things because like his dad died not long. Actually, I think his dad died right before his son was born or either right after his son was born. And then they were having issues and she just wanted out and she wanted somebody with money and she couldn't give him the life that he wanted, and so she cheated and went and found somebody else. And yeah, then he had their son at first because she just wanted to party and do whatever, and then she ended up taking them back, and it was a bunch of nonsense because her and I actually have a really good relationship, because we share said son now, because he's not a part of any of our kids' lives. So yeah, he put her through hell too, but hid all of
So
that, of course, and blamed her.
right. And I mean, and that's why I wanted to bring that up because I think that happens a lot. And I think that it's something that people need to be aware of. Like when you're dating somebody that has is going through a divorce or that's been through a divorce, how factual is it that it was all her and she didn't want him and like he really played himself out to be a victim of hers. And so I'm sure part of that was like, "Oh, baby, I'll treat you good and I love you and want to be around you." And then you get to be the hero in the story because she's the villain. And I think that that's awesome that you two are friends now and that
Yes.
you were able to find that out. So yeah, that's definitely a flag for people to look out for because I think it happens often. And that they play off their past relationships as the other spouse was the entire problem, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so now you guys are married. You have your oldest daughter. And then when did you start feeling like a shift in the relationship?
It just blew up one night,
Mhm.
actually. So we got married in June of 2009. September of 2009, we went out supposedly to celebrate my birthday. But we were with his cousin who was a friend of mine from like middle school, high school, and one of his friends. He was drinking, apparently doing drugs, which I didn't know about, and started like told me he was like being mean to me for no apparent reason. And I told him that I was gonna leave. And he was like, "Well, I've got the keys to the house and you can't get in." And I was like, "Well, I'll climb through a window." And he was like, "You're too big to fit through a window." And I was like, "Did you just tell me I'm too fat to fit through a house window?" And
Wow.
like it just turned into a full blown argument. Now all of a sudden I'm flirting with his cousin and all this other stuff. So now he decides that he wants to leave. He's intoxicated, probably shouldn't be driving. Gets in the car anyway. Um, like goes to reverse out of the driveway, gets stuck on a rock or something. They have to push us off. We end up getting home, and it's just a full blown drag out argument that turns violent. Um, he spit on me, he pulled my hair, he was choking me. We were home alone. I had like nobody to help me. I was literally begging my German shepherd to attack him to get him off of me. Um, Eventually, he ended up letting me go and, like, sobbing and crying, and, "I'm so sorry, and it'll never happen again." And I took my wedding rings off, and I threw them out at him, and I ran out of the house. He started chasing me down the street. I got, like, 2, 3 houses down to a neighbor's house who I was close with, whose boyfriend was a friend of mine, just started pounding on her door. He was actively trying to pull me off of her porch, so I was holding on to her door for dear life. He was pulling on my clothes, pulling on my hair. I peed myself because I was so scared. Um, they heard me, opened the door, boyfriend saw what was happening, tackled him to the ground. He got into our car and took off, and, the friend called the police. But yeah, that was the first time and the worst at the same time.
Wow, that's incredibly frightening, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I mean, it's humiliating. It is, it's just devastating to feel that anyone could put someone else through that, and almost like he owns you. And if you weren't going to do what he wanted you to do, I mean, he put your life in danger um, so many times that night, like from getting into the car or just, verbally abusing you about the window comments. Was this something that happened a lot when he was drinking? Was it alcohol induced, or after that, it didn't matter if he was drinking or not?
Um, so it was more prevalent when he was drinking, so I stopped drinking, period. I couldn't drink around him. I never knew what was going to happen.
Wow.
So I literally changed who I was to tiptoe on the eggshells that was my life. Um, 'Cause
Yeah, you had.
anything turned into an argument. And yeah, pretty soon it was just period. It wasn't even when he was just drinking. It was worse when he was drinking, but yeah, anything. Like I couldn't be honest with him. I couldn't talk to him about anything. Like I
Well,
became
let's
mute.
go back. Let's go back to that night real quick. So the police were called, and did you press charges, or what
The
happened when
police
the
were
police?
called. I did press charges. His mom, like, cause I guess when he took off in the car, he went to his mom's house because that's where our daughter was. He, I guess, had her come check on me, but all she did was blame me because she was like, "Oh, he's all scratched up and bleeding." I was like, "Well, yeah, he was choking me to death. I was trying to defend myself." And then the cousin that we had been with, I called him because, like, he was aware of what was happening, and his mom worked at a hospital. So they took me to the hospital, did the checkup or whatever on me, just made sure that I was good, and he got arrested that night, and I pressed charges.
Did you go through with the charges? Like, did he get convicted of this? How did you like? Were you stayed married to him, right?
I went through with everything. He did get charged. I think he just got probation this time though, because it was only his first offense or something like that. And I did leave. I lived with that cousin for about a month, and then I moved in with my mom. I stayed with my mom probably for like a month or two. It was hard being over there too because she was still with her abuser at the time. I didn't really want to be around him. He was never abusive to me, and he was always great with my kids, but just knowing what he had done to my mom and put my mom through, it was one of those situations where when I'm with him, you have to love him, but when I'm not with him, you have to hate him type thing. I feel like we've all been through that with our friends or whatever. Um, But no, I was gonna leave. I was done. I was gonna get divorced. And then I got it'll never happen again. I'm so sorry. Like, we just got married. We have a family. Give it one more chance. And eventually I broke down and I gave it another chance.
Yeah, because they really can wear you down with that. And here
Yes.
you are, you're living in a situation that's not ideal for you. It's PTSD. It's, you're living in an abusive situation, even if the abuse is not on you. It's still a very toxic environment to be around. And then you got your daughter there. So he's getting you while you're vulnerable for sure. Right.
Yes.
So, and then of course, if he talks down to you like the way he did and stuff, I'm guessing you had a lower self-worth.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when they come back and they start saying, I love you and we're married and, I want to treat you good, it's like you really, really want to believe that because you deserve that. And it's like, he has shown you he can do it because at the beginning things were good, right?
Yep.
So we hold on to those fleeting moments of when things were good and we go, well, we know that they can do it. So maybe this time will be different because I know he's capable of doing it. It's whether he'll do it or not is a different story, or capable of doing it long term. Okay, so he talked you into going back into the marriage and then right away was it good for a while? Like take me from there.
We were good for a while. I like literally that night I had an issue where I had a period for like 3 months straight. I don't know if it was stress or from what he put me through that night. It might not have been 3 months. It was like a month and a half, 2 months, but like way longer than any period should be. And then I went like 6 months without having a period. So he was like all um worried about my health and stuff like that, and there for me and my our daughter. And eventually he was like, well, you should go to the doctor and see what's going on because this isn't normal. And so I went to my doctor and I got put on medication to start a period because this is after I went the 6 months without having one. And then I got pregnant with daughter number two.
Mm.
But where he was very, like, loving and attentive with the first daughter during my pregnancy, even though he wasn't loving and attentive with her when she was born, he was so mean to me during this pregnancy. Um, Fighting with me, calling me names, throwing stuff at me. Like, I didn't wanna have her because I couldn't see having another kid being in this relationship. Obviously I did because I loved her. I fell in love with her. I wanted to, you know, wasn't her fault. But when
You
she was
didn't, and it's
born,
probably it's not that you didn't want her in that environment. You
right,
know
I
what I
didn't
mean?
want her in that situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I had gave birth to her and it calmed down a little bit because he really loved her. Um, I think she was his favorite kid. And we were good for a couple years. And then it just started all over again. We were together 10 years, probably around year 7 is when he became an addict, and just for 3 years put me through hell. Cheating, hitting me, lying to me, stealing from me, and this is when my daughter started seeing some things. And yeah, like the last 3 years I was kind of just checked out cuz I was like I can't, like, this is stupid. Why am I even still here? Why am I even still doing this? Yeah, it was bad.
So he started using drugs or alcohol or both, or you say he was an
Started
addict.
using drugs. So he wasn't an addict, but he would like drink and stuff here and there or whatever. Apparently he would do drugs behind my back, but it was never like an issue.
Hmm.
And then just one day his whole character changed, and he was a meth head, and he lost his job, and he was hanging around all these people, and he was gambling, and he was cheating. And yeah,
What was
like I
that
don't know,
like
it was like
to
he just
have?
flipped a switch.
Yeah, and drugs and alcohol can do that too. That because it's it messes with your brain chemistry and can change who you are. So when he cheated on you, let's go to the first time. Like, how did you find out that he cheated on you?
So there we were still dating actually. We hadn't even moved in together yet. Uh, there was like one night he was out all night with his friends and like he would periodically check in and like I didn't think anything of it. Like go have fun with your friends. I don't care. And like the next day when I saw him, he was like all just whiny and crying and mopey and his life sucked and I don't know, something seemed off. Uh, didn't think about it, didn't put two and two together. And then after some time had passed and we were living together and we were already married at this point, he got mad at me for something and he was like, "Do you remember when we were dating that night that I was like gone all night?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I lied to you. I wasn't with my friends. I was with another woman." And it happened to be somebody that I worked with. So I
And that
had
you
to,
currently work with, like you worked with at the time
yeah,
or back
somebody that I
then?
was currently working with.
Wow. Wow. So, okay, so whoa, so many things are going through my head right now. One, one is so he started cheating on you during dating, which completely is makes sense to why he became possessive of you during that time and going to your work because that's his behavior and he was projecting it to you, but you wouldn't have known that because you didn't know he cheated on you.
Right.
But me, when we look back at it, that's exactly why he started getting possessive because he just believed that if he's doing it, then you're doing it, right? Then,
Yeah.
everything becomes suspicious because he has a guilty mindset.
Mhm.
So that, and then when he told you this, like, that is like literally like, who does that? Who takes something that is so painful and so freaking hurtful and just tell you this? Like, why? Like, who would do that to someone that they love? Like, it was unprovoked. He just, all of a sudden, he just wants to hurt you so bad that he's going to be like, oh, and by the way, I cheated on you with the girl you're working with,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And all of this, and I don't know if you recognize it at the time, is slowly but surely is beating you down, just beating your self-worth down, beating your confidence down. It's just he's slowly taking everything away from you and you are alone. Most of your family, I just want to remind everybody, is not around, right?
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry. That had to been for him to tell you that. It had to be just I've been cheated on. And I will never forget that feeling of when I found out. And it still haunts me to this day. Like sometimes I can smell that time of year. It's actually this time of year.
Yeah.
And and it'll remind me of it. And this was 20 some years ago. So go back now. So you said he started cheating on before. So he told you that. Did he cheat on you other times after that?
Yes. There was 3 times that I know about. 4
Mm.
times that I know about. Didn't obviously know when they were happening. Um, but so actually the one time, I don't know if you would call it cheating, but yeah. So we were still married. We were living in an apartment building. This is one of the other times that we split up. We split up 3 times. On the 4th is when I left, period. So
Okay.
technically 4 times before I left. This was the 3rd time right before I left totally. We decided we were splitting up. He had a girlfriend. I was keeping the kids. He was taking the car, even though it was in my name because his job made more money, so he needed it. The cousin who I had mentioned, who I was with the night that he hit me the first time, it was his ex-girlfriend. And she lived on the other side of our apartment complex. So a lot of slaps in the face all the way across there. And then there were times when like I needed the car, I needed to go to work, I needed to get the kids to school. He's not answering the phone. He's ignoring me, whatever. It's wintertime. I have to bundle up my kids and walk across the apartment complex and take the car because I've got an extra set of keys because now he's not answering the phone, even though he was the one who said, I'll make sure you get where you're going because I need to keep the car.
Yeah. No, that's a control thing.
Yeah.
Wow, girl. So, and then you ended up taking him back after that one too?
We came where, yes, one more time.
Okay.
He was going to get sober. Everything was going to be different. It was going to be great. We ended up moving out of the apartment complex into a house. We were living in Barberton in the apartment complex. We were moving to Akron. Uh, his uncle at the time had just had surgery, had lived down in Florida. He was going to go move down with his aunt and his uncle in Florida. They live in the middle of nowhere. He can get sober. He can't get in any trouble. He's gonna go get clean. He's gonna go help them. He's gonna come back. Everything is gonna be great. So he could leave. I took a title loan out on my vehicle to get him. I think it was a round trip plane ticket. Um, and he ended up stealing my rent money out of my purse before he left. And I had to ask my mom to help me pay my rent because I didn't realize he had stolen my money. I went to go order dinner for me and the girls one night and my card was declined and I was like, what is happening? And that's when I realized all my money was gone. He took my card out of my wallet and went and gambled and then took off to Florida and left me to fix it. Um, but no, he was sober and he was loving and he was attentive and we were going to renew our vows and everything was going to be like it was in the beginning. And then he came home because he was down there for like a month and a half. He came home and everything was good. Everything was good for like 2 months. We were great. We were getting along. We were hanging out. He was working. Everything was good with the kids. And then one night we were having a conversation and he was like in the bathroom doing something and he asked me for a pen. And I didn't put two and two together. But the next day, like we were driving to his grandma's or something, and we were just having a conversation. And all of a sudden, I was arguing, I had an attitude, I was being a bitch, and I was like, we're literally just talking, like, what is going on right now? And then he spit on me. That was his favorite thing to do, other than throwing things at me. Throwing things at me and spitting on me were his two favorites. But he spit at me and I lost my temper and I punched him in his face. Now, mind you, we're in a car driving down the road. He ends
Yeah.
up pulling over. I take my wedding rings off. I throw them out the window, getting back to the pen. He asked for the pen because he was doing drugs in my bathroom while my kids were asleep in my house when he was supposed to be sober. That's where the attitude came from out of nowhere because he was methed out of his mind and just irritable. And that's when I woke up because I was like, you know what? It's my house. It's my car. I'm the one working. The cell phone that you're using is mine. I pay the bill. What do? You don't do any, you steal from me, you beat me, you tear me down. Now our kids are seeing it, have been seeing it. The only reason I've stayed this long is because I didn't want my kids to come from a broken family. My parents got divorced when I was 2. I didn't want that to be my kids' life. But staying with you is doing more damage and I can't do it anymore. Get your shit and get out. And I made him leave that day.
What? It's just like that. I know that wasn't easy, but man, I wish everybody in an abusive relationship gets to that point of, damn it, I can do this and I've done this and I got this and I'm worth it and I'm done. That was like just the way you said it. There was so much power behind it. And I'm sure at the time, it didn't feel powerful. It probably felt completely terrifying. And
Yes.
you're gonna do this and you're gonna make it on your own, but in the back of your mind, like, am I gonna go back again? Because on average, someone leaving an abusive relationship, it takes them on average 7 times. So it took you 4.
Took me
Um,
4.
and I want everyone to understand that that is normal. That is not being dumb. That is not being vulnerable. That is not, any of those things. It just, to me, you were in survival mode. And he had such a pattern of, being the nice guy and doing everything you needed him to do and being the father you wanted him to be for your children and that your children deserved. And then boom, then the hammer would drop. And it
Yep.
would last for so long. And then it was, okay, baby, I'm gonna get sober and I'm going to, and when he became an addict, um, you were really fighting so much more than you probably ever even dreamed of, because now he like he can't even work on changing and being a better person until he gets sober. And that's a whole nother thing. And I know I I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I get that. When I would drink and be drunk, I could become different person, right?
Yes.
So that was just, and you're young and you got 2 girls at home. It's just devastating. I hate hearing anyone having to go through this, and that devastating feeling of, everything he did, not just the hitting you, like, that very first time, you said the worst was the first time, which
Yes.
I can almost imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that every time after that, you knew it could get worse, and then when it didn't, it was probably kinda like, "Well, it's not as bad as it was." So in your mind, you might have even thought, "Well, it's not as bad as it used to be." Do you know what I mean? And make it like which is
Yeah.
scary. But like when he strangled you, you very well could have lost your life then.
Yeah. He the last time he hit me, I had actually already left. Um, I left him in August of 2017,
Hmm.
but I was still, taking him places and stuff. I was trying to be as cordial as I could be for the kids. So he could be around the kids, so he would be a part of the kids' life. So one day I was taking him to his grandma's. Kids weren't in the car. I was listening to a song on a CD in my car. Apparently, he didn't like it. Switched the song and was listening to another song that he seemed like he was getting very aggressive to. So I switched the song. He got mad. He ejected the CD from my radio and threw it out the window. Well, I pulled over into a parking lot and I was like, get out of my car. And he was like, no, I'm not getting out. And I was like, no, get out of the car. Like, I'm not dealing with your attitude. We're close enough. You can walk. Like, just get out of my car. Well, he tried to take my keys out of my ignition and he took my phone out of my hand. So I start freaking out because now I've got, I know where this leads and you just took
Right.
my phone. So I have no way of communicating with anybody. So I was clawing at him or whatever, trying to get my phone back. And he was like, start the car and I'll give you your phone back. So I start the car, continue driving. He gives me my phone back. And then, it just keeps progressing. And I pull over again in a gas station parking lot and I tell him to get out. I've got my phone on the other side. I'm holding it for dear life. I'm holding the keys in the ignition. I'm screaming out my window for somebody to call the police. And he was like, stop screaming. You're just drawing attention to us. Cut it out. Just take me to my grandma's and I'll leave you alone. I'll never bother you again. So I took him to his grandma's and when we got into the driveway, he just started beating me. I'm ducking down, trying to protect myself. He's punching me, pulling my hair, doing whatever. His uncle's standing on the porch just watching. I think
Right.
he said, stop, leave her alone, but that was it. Just nothing. So he ended up
He didn't
getting
try to
out of the.
intervene. Wait,
No,
he
he
didn't try
didn't
to
intervene.
intervene at
No,
all.
but his uncle was also an abusive piece of crap too and did it to my friend who he was dating. But yeah, no, his uncle did nothing. So I'm just taking the beating because what am I supposed to do? He gets out of the car I lock my car, I throw it in reverse, I take off. But now I have to go get my kids from school. I have to go to his mom's house because they go to a school a block away from her house. They walk to her house, I pick them up, we go home. I'm red, I'm bleeding, I'm bloody. His sister is freaking out when I walk in the house, like, what's wrong? What can I do? I was like, can you get me some ice, please? First thing out of his mom's mouth is, are you calling the cops?
That was her concern?
That was her concern.
Wow.
Are you calling the cops? Like, do you see me right now? And the kids are about to walk through the door any minute. And
Wow.
that's what you have to say? That was the last time he beat me. So I was like, thank God that I left, because had I stayed, he would have ended up killing me. It might not have been right away. It might have taken some time, but he was going to kill me eventually.
Yeah. Did you eventually press charges for that incident or no?
For that incident, no, but there was one incident before that, when right before we had split up, period, where we had gotten into an argument and he grabbed me by my throat in the middle of the living room in front of our kids and pinned me up against the wall, where I called the cops and pressed charges. So he was already on probation again for that. And then he ended up, after we split up, he started dating somebody. They got pulled over one day. He had drugs on him, and then he was already on probation for the domestic violence. He ended up doing, I want to say, like 3 months in CBCF or Glenwood. It's one of the jails out here in Summit County. And then when he got sentenced, he had to do 13 months at the camp in Mansfield, Ohio. And of course, that was my fault. I was to blame. I can't believe you. This is all your fault. I never touched you. I was like, it's not your fault that you got pulled over with drugs on you. It's my, it's
Yeah.
my fault.
Nobody can put you in prison. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you can call the cops every day, all day long, but unless somebody did a crime, no one's going to jail. So I mean, he did the crime,
Exactly.
but wow. How are you protected from him now? Just like, is he out of the picture now?
He is totally out of the picture now. Like I said, we co-parented for a while, or at least I tried. I'd pick him up if he needed a ride. I would let him stay at my house so he could see the girls. Like I felt like I was living in a Jerry Springer episode. Like it was, because we were still technically married, because you have to be separated for a year in Ohio before they let you file for divorce. So we were still married, but we were apart. I was dating somebody, he was dating somebody. But so he could be around the kids, I would let him and her come stay at the house so he could be around the kids. So it's me, my husband, his girlfriend, and my boyfriend in the house.
Wow.
Like I did everything I could to try to make him be there for his kids. His son ended up coming and living with him for a while, and like I let them stay at the house. I did everything that I could for the son. Celebrated his birthday, took him places, because that's my son too, and I love him. Like I said, I'm still in his life. He has a daughter that I'm grandma to. Um, but like, yeah, nothing I did was good enough, and he got to a point where I started dating this one person, and he like did not like it at all, was threatening me, was threatening that person, um then started like verbally abusing the kids on top of it. And I was like, you know what, I've tried, I can't do this anymore. I told you I would never take the kids away from you as long as you were doing what you needed to do, because I know how vital a father is in a child's life, but you're hurting them, which is why I left you in the first place, and you're still doing it. So I went and I filed for a protection order. Um, he actually showed up to the hearing and was just being aggressive and like just saying he was going to sign his rights away and he was done with us and he wanted nothing to do with us and he was done paying child support and he doesn't do anything and I just bother him and drag him back and forth to court all the time. And the judge was like, I'm granting the protection order. How long do you want it for? And I was like,
Wow.
how long can I get it for? She was like, up to 5 years. I said 5 years. She said granted.
Yeah, he made
Because
it pretty easy on that judge, showing
yeah,
up being aggressive like he was. Well, good. I'm so glad that she gave you that 5 years because it takes time. It sounded to me like you tried to get away, but you quite couldn't get away. So maybe this PPO was the answer of, I believe PPOs are a piece of paper, but they are like really good in the sense of holding someone accountable. So if he does like come and start antagonizing you guys and things like that, that PPO would send him right to jail. And
yes,
so I again, I just can't imagine. How old are your daughters now?
16 and 14.
16 and 14. And they're in the primary stages of like when they might start dating. And you've been divorced since 2017, is that right?
My divorce was final in 2018.
18. So a couple, good 5, 6 years, right? 7 years. And what his life had been like. Like I know we're kind of running short on time, but I really want to know what life has been like since you've left and what message you want to get across to survivors or maybe someone that is in a situation similar to yours that is also afraid to get out or having those thoughts of, I don't want my children to come from a broken family because that one in particular, I think, is so common, but yet living in the marriage that's toxic and violent is a broken marriage,
Yes.
right? It's still a broken marriage. So,
Yeah.
talk to me about that, like what it was like to rebuild. Obviously, it's possible. You're an amazing mom. You work a bazillion jobs. You're like a chef, and you own
Yes.
your own business. And I mean, you do a lot of things. You're a busy girl. So, how did you rebuild after that?
It was a crazy roller coaster ride, and it still is. It's not easy. Healing is messy. Um, you're still in survival mode and trying to realize that not every person is your abuser and normal people don't interact that way, and you don't have to walk on eggshells all the time. It takes time to get used to it. And another one of the biggest things I've noticed, just like from dating or whatever, I've been in like 2, 3 relationships since. Um, I think these people are great people, and at first they are, and then I see the signs, and I'm like, I mean, you're better, but you're not. You're you still have red flags of your own. I literally haven't been in a relationship longer than a year and a half since I left my husband because I see the signs faster and I won't put up with it. So I leave a lot quicker and I don't deal
Yeah.
with it anymore. I'm getting better as time goes on, but that also has to deal with me seeing the signs and not wanting to hang on because it's familiar to you no matter what. And even though you know it's bad, it's just what you know. So you have to really dig down deep and heal what's broken inside of you. The biggest thing is trying to love yourself again. Cause I don't know, I don't know if this is all abusers, but what I've seen is like they break you down. You lose your independence, you lose your self-worth, you lose your identity, you stop being who you were to accommodate them because who you are is bad. Or at least they make you feel that way. Like you're not good enough, you're not strong, you're not smart, nobody's ever gonna love you type deal. And you listen, like it sinks in. So you have to build yourself back up from literally nothing and find your identity and find your self-worth and figure out what you want to do, all while still going to work and being a mom and doing whatever you're doing. So like, being broken and healing while you have people watching you, needing you, relying on you, it's probably the hardest thing you ever do in this lifetime, but it can be done.
Or it can be done, but it can't be harder than living in that situation and risking it getting worse and potentially ending in death. It's a
Yes.
different kind of hard. It's a hard that's worth going through versus being in an abusive relationship. That's hard too. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of like choose your hard. That hard can just can end deadly, but the heart of rebuilding and finding your self worth and your self love is always worth it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe healing it comes over time, and
It
sometimes
does.
you're growing and you don't even notice it, but you'll look back and go, like, why would have I put up with that? Like all of a sudden you're like, you got that self worth back. You don't see it every single day, you don't see the growth, but all of a sudden you might look back and go, "I can't believe that I fell for that," or "I can't believe," or you go on a new date and you see a red flag and you have the guts to say, "You know what? You're not for me, and this ends here because I don't see a future with us." And being able to do that without worrying about hurting their feelings or rejecting them or anything like that, you start feeling that growth, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. And you've got two young girls that, yeah, that are looking up to you. um but that's also why I think it takes 7 times to leave on average, is because you're exactly right, you're so broken down and they break you down in so many areas, that you feel moving out or moving on with your life is too hard, you know
Yes,
and it can be hard, but it's definitely worth it. And um,
absolutely.
it's your only opportunity to have anything different. Um, so where are you at today? Like, so you are an advocate, you're an ambassador. How have you gotten from being that broken down person to now speaking your story? Because, as you know, I started this program because in my work as a coach and as an advocate, I've noticed like people don't share their story because they feel full of shame or guilt, or people silence them because of they don't want you telling their story. The family comes out of the woodwork and says, why are you saying that stuff? Just move on with your life. You're acting like a victim, and they get shamed into being silent. And so I wanted to start a platform where people could share their story, because it's like, listen, if I lived it, I'll be goddamn. I'm gonna I'm gonna tell my story
Right.
for one kind of thing. And
Exactly.
I want to empower anybody else to have that, because it's healing. That is the number one thing that can help you heal, is talking out loud. And then as soon as you start hearing back, like, wow, thank you for your story, Amber. Just knowing what you went through and the fact that you're thriving now has given me so much hope that I left my relationship. It's like, oh my God, you didn't go through all of that in vain. You're telling your story as a warrior to help other people,
Right.
and that just will build your self-worth, everything. And it shows your daughters having great self-worth is not selfish. It's a necessity, you know,
Yes.
and you're worth it. So your overall message then to survivors is what?
Well, the biggest thing is the person that you were before, because I've heard that a million times. I'm trying to get back to who I was before. That person is dead and gone. You have to let them go. You have to recreate yourself, reinvent yourself, and go forward. The past is the past. Let it be. Let it lie there. You can learn from it. Obviously, you can grow from it, but the person you were before is never coming back. They've broken you down, beating you, that person's gone. Now it's where do I want to go from here? And that's where I was like, I was scared, obviously, but I was like, fresh start. What have I always wanted to do? What are the things he always told me I couldn't do? Number one was he told me I couldn't take care of my kids on my own. Well, I have a 3-bedroom house in Ellett, Ohio that I take care of completely on my own because he was like, "Oh, you get benefits and you get this and you get that, so like the government's raising our kids and blah blah blah." I don't get any assistance whatsoever. I have 2 cars, work a full-time job, have my own business, went to culinary school, got my degree. My business is catering. I also started a new marketing business just a couple weeks ago because doing my catering business and having to market for myself, I learned a lot of things. And I was like, you know what? I can help other small businesses get the following that they need to grow their business. And then, yes, for a long time, I didn't tell my story. Probably for like 2, 3 years, I didn't tell my story. And it wasn't because I was shamed into being quiet or anything like that. I was ashamed of myself. I felt
Mm,
like an idiot. I felt like a fool. I didn't want to tell people that because most of the time, what you get from other people who don't know is, well, why didn't you just leave? Why did
right.
you let them do that to you? You don't know unless you're in it. Because before I was in it, I probably would have been one of those people. To be like I said at the very beginning, I said I would never be that stupid. You're not stupid, but yeah, I felt dumb.
Mm,
But eventually I realized I wasn't dumb. They showed to be a totally different person. And then once I was in, that's when the Mr. Hyde persona showed itself. And then it was
right.
just a never ending cycle after that because they would show Dr. Jekyll for long enough to make you think that, oh, okay, they're putting in effort, things are going to change, it's going to be different this time. Basically, love bombing you, I guess. And then they would flip that switch like it was nothing. So,
Yep.
uh, anything I can do to prevent somebody from getting into that relationship, I'm going to do it. If I can tell my story to somebody who's going through it and feel like they have nobody and feels like they're the dumb one, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's people out there who have their own stories. There's people out there who want to listen to you. There's resources available to you. And yes, the broken home thing, like I said, I stayed because I didn't want my kids to come from a broken home. I was doing more damage. They were seeing worse things. Because if a home is not loving and all it is arguing and fighting and abuse, it's already broken.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's something your kids are going to have to heal from. I don't want my kids to have to heal from me. So I
Wow.
left.
Wow. Say that again. You don't want your kids to have to heal from you.
I don't want my
That,
kids to have to heal from me.
yeah, that's powerful. And I think so. You have so many strong messages, and so I'm so glad that even after a couple of years of feeling like you couldn't share your story, that you're able to, because just from witnessing it as a child, but the true way to break a cycle would be learning, like right now, teaching your children what self love looks like and how to have self respect and how to have, values and morals. Those are the things you want to instill in your daughters so that they have a strong foundation. So when they are dating, it's harder for them to find themselves in a situation like that,
Yes.
and then stay in a situation like that. But thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing this. And I'm so glad that you and your daughters are safe right now. And you are just a prime example of that there is life after trauma. And that's something you had said to me earlier, that you want people to know that there's life after trauma. And you're not just surviving right now, you are thriving. You've got, like you said, you went to culinary school, you own a home, and you are a chef, and you own your own business and you just started another marketing business, like your girl, you're just keeping yourself busy and like, I'm good at that. Good. I'll do it for a living. Like, there's no stopping you now, and you have no one in the way of taking all of that away from you. And I think that's really important to do after getting out of a relationship like you were in, is not just leaving the relationship, but taking that time to, like you said, really rebuild yourself, build your foundation, build your self worth back up. Because when you do start dating, then if it's strong enough, no one can take it from you. Nobody.
Exactly.
But if you go right into more relationships, you go right into what you're comfortable with, what you are used to tolerating, because you know what to expect. You know how to avoid it. You know how to walk on eggshells, um, to where you may meet. I always laugh because my first healthy relationship was when I was 40 something years old. It's my current husband. Um, but he is one of those nice guys. And when he was being nice, I was like, "What's wrong with this man? Like, there's gotta be
Right.
something." Right, yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
pick him apart, and I wanted to be like, there's no way, like, this is true." So we could easily push away the good people when we're not healed, because we subconsciously look for what we're comfortable with.
Mhm.
And another thing too is when you're used to being the lover and the one that, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to be a good wife and I'm going to keep the house clean and take care of the kids and do all of these things, and you get into you you have a chance to be in a relationship where there's healthy love, and they want to start doing things for you. You're like, ew, like, no, I'm the giver, I'm the one.
Right.
Like, you feel all of a sudden your love's not good enough because you never had challenged before. You never had it in return. So, in order to find healthy love, I think after toxic relationships is that time like you're taking right now, is just being the badass mom girl that you are, and living life on your terms and doing what you want to do and building the foundation that you're building. So thank you again so much. I'm excited to have you on the ambassador team. I know we're going to work a lot more together and probably hopefully build this program um, into even more and expand it. And so I would like for you to send me some of your links to like your businesses. I would love to put them in the description. So if any of the listeners are close enough and can use your services, just help support a trauma survivor would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Knowing that you grew your business out of the story that you just shared with us is pretty incredible, and I would love to see you succeed at them. And as far as my Thrive Tribe, thank you guys for tuning in for this really important episode. We just came out of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but you know what? Domestic violence just doesn't happen just in October. It is a year-round thing, and it's happening as we speak. So I think it's very important that we continue the conversation every single day and spread awareness and share our stories so other survivors out there know that there's hope and know, like Amber said, that there is life after trauma. So if you like this episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share so other survivors are aware and can tune in and find some inspiration here at Warrior Voices. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye bye.